Good afternoon.
All right, everybody, let's call this meeting to order. This is the open space regular meeting. Today is Wednesday, September 18th, 2024. It is 5:31 p.m. We're meeting tonight in person and on Zoom at the Primetime Building at 1059 Somerset Avenue in Dayton, Massachusetts. You can also join us on Zoom. Meeting ID 852-3994-1073, and the passcode is 12377. The phone can also dial in at area code 646-931-3860. This meeting is being recorded. Can we please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. All right, let's do roll calls, starting with, let's start with who's present.
Good evening. Leonard Hall is present.
Robert Gear, present.
Jonathan Gale, President on Zoom.
And Danica Belknap on Zoom.
Welcome, everybody. It looks like we have quorum.
Congratulations, Danica, by the way.
Thank you.
Let's entertain the next meeting date and get that on the table if everybody desires. The first Wednesday of the next month would be October 2nd.
Could we meet at 5:30 as we did today?
Yeah. 5:30 is our normal meeting time, so that would work.
With that being said, I'd like to make a motion that the date of our next meeting will be Wednesday, October 2nd at 5:30 p.m.
Second, Jonathan Gale.
Thank you. Ayes?
Aye.
Aye.
Any nays?
Leonard Hall is an aye.
Any nays?
Jonathan Gale's and I.
And Danica Belknap, aye.
Robert Gear, aye. All right. So we will meet again on October 2nd at 5:30. We'll move real quick into Chairman's address. First, I do want to apologize to the committee and to the community for missing our deadline. I didn't time Labor Day right to get my meeting notice into Town Hall. So my apologies, and I thank everybody for accommodating tonight. I'd also like to dovetail on Jonathan's congratulations to our committee clerk and their family for welcoming a healthy newborn into the world. She's certainly destined for great things. Earlier this year, our committee was approved to establish a Facebook page. Tonight you'll see a line item to discuss this. We also have Town Cleanup Day that we will be discussing. Possibly, if there is any time we can discuss, we don't have to act obviously on a joint meeting. And then I do have an outline when we get there for our action items, how I'd like to kind of run through that so I can either address that now or when we get there. Let's do that when we get there so it's kind of clear when we're there. And then also, I'd also like to add, and I apologize that there should have been a line for any subcommittee updates as they pertain just in general, but I think I'd maybe move that down to old business just to see if we can get some specific updates lined up. And from that, I will open it up for any public input or anybody else who would like to make comment. before we begin? Alrighty, well, let's move into old business. I know we have on the table the Dayton Cleanup Day Subcommittee. I believe that we have a date and the commitment of bags on the table left to be determined from our previous meeting. So I'd like to see if the subcommittee has determined a date that would work for the town.
So Leonard, Mr. Hull and I met to discuss the cleanup day and the types of departments in town we'd want to bring in, the types of organizations we'd want to bring in, which is really, the umbrella is theoretically everyone and everyone, from the Boy Scouts, the Girl Scouts, to town departments, to different organizations in town as well. We tentatively had set a date for mid-October, but then through just a lot of things going on in town, and a couple of people that I reached out to in town departments specifically, saying, let's just wait until we have a new TA on board. Not that they would support it or deny it. I'm sure they would support it, but just to make sure that if there's ever a question mark with coordination or anything like that, I was told it would be better off to wait. Now, that last part I haven't discussed with Mr. Hull yet, or the committee. So again, we have a tentative date, which would be about a month from now, roughly. If we go with that, it would have to be done quickly. I think the other thing to think about is there's a lot of work to be done to put this together yet, starting with not just identifying the departments and organizations who would be able to support this, but identifying where in town we want to clean up and what our mission is going to be for a cleanup day. Is it going to be open? Are we defining open space as parks? Are we defining it as trails? Are we defining it as long roadways, in town that may need it extensively? Do we want to differentiate whether it's a town road versus a county road, or a town trail versus another trail? So I think there are some things that we as a committee need to think about there. So I'm debating and I'm suggesting to the committee, excuse me, because there's so much involved here, which we knew there would be, but I think we just got a late start with things that are going on around town. I'm wondering personally out loud if it makes sense to hold off until spring. And that way we have the whole winter to put this together. Once we get into later, if we go any later than mid to late October, potentially it's going to get cold. Potentially the ground's going to be extra wet. Potentially there could be snow, et cetera, et cetera. So I'm thinking we might want to hold off until spring, but I'd like to hear from the other members of what your all thoughts are.
Mr.
Yes,
Chairman,
Yes, sir.
in speaking to Mr. Ferry and to Mr. Karen, they both agreed that it probably would be best to have a meeting with the new town administrator, get his input before we go forward. So with that being said, waiting until the spring, I think would be a prudent way to go.
So I'm going to then, hearing that,
Well, I'm just curious though, what is the town administrator gonna do that would add to this subcommittee's?
I think the main thing is, because it technically involves, in some cases, a town time, whether it's a police officer potentially directing traffic, or the guys from the town garage picking up waste or providing resource material. There technically could be questions about time management, pay, not pay, volunteerism versus pay, all that sort of stuff. And I think if you look at it from that perspective, I think that's partly what they're thinking about with things that they have to do, and they want to bring the new town administrator on board to be part of that thought process.
So honestly, what I hear is just delay, and I feel like I hear this a lot throughout there's a common thread.
I don't disagree with
Let me finish, because honestly, this plan has been approved and voted on by the town already. So these are action items that have already gone through this approval process. I don't know why we need to double back and get another approval. Your town has already gone through this. Your board of selectmen have already done this for you. Remember that, please. So,
I am-
with that in mind, I don't mind delaying, but 1 month ago, everybody was very antsy to get this on the table and push this through, and now you're stalling, and it's slightly frustrating because a lot of energy, yes, can go into this and should go into it. Seemed like it went into it and then went nowhere. And it's just deflating, to be quite honest. So,
Chairman,
we can move on.
I just want you to know, frankly, I do agree with you 110% about not just this issue, but that same comment for a lot of things in this town. Unfortunately, I could not agree more. I have to preface that by saying we are stuck and are bound by what we have to work with. And if these other folks that we need to be involved, fortunately, saying we're not going to be involved until there's an administrator, when my personal opinion is we also don't really need that administrator, but they think we do, we're stuck. So
Well,
I don't disagree.
I mean, so what do we do? Do we just not do open space until there's a TA?
I think this is something
Because
that,
that's what I hear you saying, Jonathan.
I'm sorry.
That's what I hear us saying.
I guess what I'm saying is if it's something, and Mr. Hull can contact, and Danica also, if they comment, I don't want to be the only talking head, but I think if, unfortunately, when we have something that involves other town departments or committees that sometimes, I hate to say it, this is what we're stuck with.
Right, but we knew this going into it, so why did we try shoving this down our throats last month?
You know, all I can tell you is what I've been told. I know I sound evasive, and I'm not. I'm pissed off about it too. I was ready to go and start to put things together.
Also, the other question and concern, my son, is that we are already doing one. Now.
But we're not, I mean, we're in open spaces now.
No, that is correct. However, working with the other departments without cooperation from the other departments, this won't be successful.
I know, but you guys came into this conversation last month with assurances that you could get approval from the highway, the bags would be picked up, and we would have a date that I could go to the selectmen with.
You know, Robbie, again, Mr. Chairman, you're not making a comment that's unfair at all. And I can tell you, I don't disagree with you. I know from my perspective, I tried to reach out. I tried to get things put together. Mr. Ho and I had talked about a tentative date to try and put things together so that we could come to this meeting today prepared. And
No, I understand, I think we've just squashed the idea because somebody in town has told us to, for lack of other terms, but, you know, I mean, if we got creative, if the subcommittee got creative and picked a spot in town that did not require police assistance with directing traffic, or somebody could pick up bags and you found a volunteer, if we found all the methods that would require no city effort at all, that would have been coming prepared to this meeting. So,
point well taken.
thanks.
Is it a community event or is it just?
You guys, this was up for you to determine. I mean, you came
We
to me on
determined-
fire a month ago
we
wanting
wanted
this to
it-
happen.
We wanted it to be a community event.
I know, and we wanted it to be a nonpartisan event, and I think that was one of the emphasis behind it, but
So,
I just really think that we look silly if we come in ablazing and then we drop everything from one moment to the next with, I mean, back to our conversations with Board of Selectmen, you know, I mean, who won't even answer emails, so anyway, another subject. Can we move on? I'm sorry. I really just feel like this was, you know, if this is gonna set the tone for all of our stuff, I mean, I'll be honest, my address tonight had more into it, like, we've gotta get this right, you know, I mean, you know, the current members on our special projects, you know, we're all seemingly behind everything that we just laid out in front of us. Um, I really thought that we had a choice to get this right.
I think we still have a choice to get it right. I don't
Yes,
disagree.
and we'll meet with the town administrator, but to
I
see
think,
how much
look,
backing we'll get from the town.
this is the frustration that even, I've only been in this town barely 8 years. This is one of the frustrations I feel in this town, not just for this issue, but for many issues that should be able to be.
But we have people who, I mean, we have to get creative. We know we don't have budgets. We know money's tight. We know that there's impending debt coming. We know that the outlook is not fantastic. We all know that. That's not news to anybody. We have to do the best with what we have. And sometimes that's making something out of nothing. And I think that we missed the mark on that. I think
our goal is community involvement.
absolutely, but
At this point in time, community is not excited about being involved with it on the 19th of October.
Well, I didn't even know that the October 19th date
Well, that was the
existed.
date,
Yeah, no, I mean, it sounds like the idea in itself was squashed until we get a town administrator, which to me is up in the air.
Well, we have one.
We have an interim, right?
No, we got appointed.
Oh, we did, okay.
Yes.
So then that should be a non-issue then. We can move forward. Moving it into the spring, that's fine. I just need a date. We agreed
Okay.
that I was gonna get a date to go to the board with.
When Jennifer and I met, we selected a date,
Okay.
and
So.
we got some pushback, so.
No, that's fine. So then it was up to the subcommittee though then to just figure out whatever date you wanted. You guys had that freedom.
Okay.
Yeah, definitely. And then to then deliver that information to me to then go get the selectmen's approval. whether it's
I'm hoping that.
next spring or,
No, we'll
Summer.
continue with that based on what you just said.
yeah, definitely. I just don't wanna toss our hands up in here. Because that's what it sounds like to me.
No,
Really.
Mr. Chairman, I'm hoping probably like others are, since the new administrator has been selected, that they'll agree on a contract and he'll be on board within the next 30 days and we can meet with him and then we can put things like this in the book.
Absolutely.
Yes.
So yeah, definitely then, if the date then is the spring, I'm 110 bucks. Heck yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah. So then what do you guys wanna do for your next steps? As
I think the
far
very-
as, is it wait until this person, the TA is onboarded? And then get an appointment with them, so we're looking at like 90 days, maybe circle back in December's meeting with an update? Is that fair to say?
I would like to circle back at the November meeting, not the December. And the reason I
Yes.
say that is I would like to, if in the interim while we're getting the date, I think what we can do, and this goes along to what you were saying, which we felt we got pushback, but I think we can reach out to different people in town at least. I'd like to have us reach out to Trails. I'd like to have us reach out to Park and Rec. I'd like to have us reach out to Highway and so forth as well, and at least ask them, give us two areas that you think we should focus on, and then we can pick one or two from that whole process based on what we think. So I'd like to at least keep this moving.
Well, I mean, if we can even ask those same departments, how do they make nothing out of, how do they make gold out of thin air? Because your Parks and Rec department and your our highway departments are secret magicians, to be quite honest. So we need to pick their brains on how they, make these things come to life, because.
Sometimes they are, but Highway has said they're overworked, so I think that has something to do with the pushback that we got.
Well, no, I mean, and it does, maybe it's not Mr. Ferry and his team, maybe it's somebody who just has a trailer in their backyard and they commit to then following Saturday, taking something to the transfer station. I mean, it's.
So I would like to use November as the meeting where we can identify where in town, instead of speculating between coming back to you with speculation. I think Mr. Hull and I can meet with people and we can come back with the points of town where we feel we need to concentrate and focus.
Perfect. I mean, I just want to be clear that the frustration was not, it was that it seemed that we were trying to move this thing so fast a month ago
We were.
to find out tonight that it dissolved into thin air. That is my, just so I'm very clear about that, and
Well, I think part of
moving on from that moment as well. Any other thoughts or comments on this while we are on the topic? Subcommittee cleanup day, Dayton cleanup day.
Not at this.
Everybody good to move on?
Yes.
All right. So I did want to squeeze in Facebook first, only for the necessity of advertisement of town cleanup day. But if that's a moot point at this moment, we can table this if that is not of chief concern at this moment.
I do have the Facebook page, is it up?
It does not know, it's not even been created. So the way, where it sits with, the way it was approved is, I believe it was Leanne or Karen, I forget, who was present that night. It was required that we establish the Facebook page with them present and I believe with their email address as the emergency contact. So that way that open space committee at Dayton-MA as the parent email or the owner of the account, if it were to ever be compromised, that the town could still have access to the Facebook page. So that's where we're at with that. So I was going to try and chain that training or that setting up process to at the same time as the training for the open space committee page within the town's site. And I was actually going to put myself forward to be on the subcommittee for the Facebook page, since I thought that that would make sense, since I already have volunteered to do the technology portion for open space as well. So that might make sense to bundle that if everybody likes that idea. And I just need somebody who wanted to maybe do that as well or represent.
I do think it's a good idea. I think we need the page. We need to have a presence. Even if we start with, you know, the information that we do have or documents that we have up there for people or links to documents. I think it's important for people to be informed. I unfortunately will not be one of the subcommittee members because this is a very visual project and I don't think that would work for me.
And that makes sense. I mean, I would be happy to make accommodations also if that would be requiring just having simple phone conversations about content, Jonathan, if it came down to that. I mean, my fingers can do the typing. I think it's just making sure that consistency and branding and carrying the message of the open space in the town of Dayton is clear and that there's just oversight there, really. I mean,
if that's the case, I mean, if you're looking for someone to try to help you kind of organize it, put it together, what should we have up there, what should we not, how should we present it, and so forth. That part of it, I'm happy to do. I'd be happy to work with you on that then.
okay, I mean, yeah, definitely. Unless anybody else wants to step forward, but yeah, I'm happy to make that accommodation because I don't think there should be anything keeping us from passing our message.
Did we vote already to make you the administrator of that page?
I'm actually trying to look through my notes now because I have exactly the words that we gave the board of selectmen that they approved the night that I stood before them. Give me 1 second, I can answer that, yeah. I'm looking for that.
So I wouldn't mind participating in that subcommittee either and going through the training with you. For the webpage and Facebook, if I can be helpful with like posting minutes and whatnot. But if Jonathan feels strongly about participating, I can also defer to him to be on the subcommittee.
No, Danica, I think, you know, I would see me just in the background as another thought process, but I think more likely you. Because if you're going to be doing more posting and more editing on there than I certainly would be.
I mean, I think it also makes sense that the clerk is active in that page because, and I did find what I approached the board with, the selectmen with, was that we would only be posting agendas, we wouldn't post minutes on that page, which seemed to kind of get a nod.
But I think, Rob, Mr. Chairman, I think we can post links to things, though. We can post links to.
Oh, absolutely. We can link to the Zoom, we can link back to the town page, we can, absolutely, and we intended to. We told them we intended to do so.
Could we also showcase areas in town that you feel are important in the area of open space? Whether they be town land
Yes,
or,
as it pertains to the community,
yes.
yes, we got approval to do
I
that.
don't think,
And then we also got approval to do what other towns do with their land, to post to that, examples.
I don't think everyone in town is aware of all the wonderful areas of open space that we have,
Yeah.
including the area behind the Spring Street complex.
Of the bird sanctuary or?
Well, you have to access it through the
Okay.
sanctuary. But if you come back down, there's a trail that leads into Dayton to the Heron Run. It's a beautiful area.
All right.
I don't think a lot of people know about it. They put a ladder in for the heron as well.
You're talking along School Street or along Lincoln?
No,
No, and up above Spring Mill, right?
you
Mount Hope.
go into the bird sanctuary, you start walking the trail as before, then it's back. That way to go back to the parking lot,
Yeah.
and then there's a trail that goes towards North Dayton. If you follow that down about a mile, you will come to the ladder and the Heron Run.
I was gonna say that. Yeah, don't know that.
And it abuts a beautiful piece of property that would be it's privately owned right now. It would make it for a beautiful park.
Fantastic. That's good to hear. It's very good to hear.
If you come in on the North Dayton side, you go past the mill, I believe it's somewhat like you're headed down South Walker Street.
Mhm.
You'll see that there is a gate almost going down to the river. That's the area that I'm talking about. You can't access it because of the gate. It's open land that would make for a beautiful park. And then, of course, you got the Heron Run there, it'd be great for fishing, water,
Mhm.
you know, just.
Lots of recreation, yeah. To answer your question about whether or not I was determined to be the administrator of the page, I think in conversation only we discussed it. I don't believe that we, unless I missed that in the minutes, I don't believe that we actually said one or the other, that we got it off the ground, I think was what we did. That was, Mr. Holt's question was whether or not, or maybe that was you, Jonathan, that I was asked to be the admin of the Facebook page?
Yeah, I think in most cases, for most town pages, it's, if they want it, it's the chair or the designee of a committee is the admin, but we also give admin rights to the selectman's office.
Correct, yeah. I think I would be happy to share that in parity with Danica. I don't necessarily need to be the admin of the page per se. I'm happy to be on the subcommittee to make sure that that gets going.
And that's perfectly acceptable. You know, we have for the Dayton Commission on Disability, as you know, we have a Facebook page, and we have a couple of us who are admins on that.
Right.
I think it works out better actually if somebody's away or somebody resigns, things like that, because you have the password and so forth to get in. So,
That makes sense.
Mr. Chairman, with that being said, I would like to nominate Danica Belknap and Robert Gear as administrators of the Open Space Facebook page.
second,
All in favor?
Leonard Howells and I.
Jonathan Gale, aye.
Danica
Robert
Belknap,
Gear.
aye.
Robert Gear, Chairman, aye.
Passes unanimously.
And we have a Facebook subcommittee. Congratulations. Right. Let's go ahead and move on to our action plan items. These are in no particular order, except obviously item number 30 is put on the back burner. As we've discussed in previous meetings, that's what was gonna happen with that one.
Do we need to table that, or has it been tabled, so we just?
Yeah, I think it can be tabled, I just didn't wanna lose track of it. Kind of like how I had always left keeping us discussing the plan and then putting it in priority of order on the agenda, because if we were to get to that at that point in the meeting, we could move on to it. Kind of as a placeholder, unless, I just don't wanna lose track of item number 30. I don't know the right way to move that off of the agenda, and unless somebody votes to, I believe, to table it indefinitely or something.
Well, all you have to do is table it, and then it can be, but just by tabling it, it becomes indefinite.
Okay,
Until
so if we wanna do that, we
the
just,
chairman wants to bring it back.
okay,
I would like to make a motion to table action plan item number 30.
Second,
all in favor?
Leonard Howells and I.
Jonathan Gale, aye.
Danica
Sorry.
Belknap, aye.
Robert Gear, aye.
Okay.
Passes. And in no particular order, but I do believe number 16 is the cleanup day. We might wanna just table that until November's meeting, is that fair to say? Alright. Is there a motion to table that?
Mr. Chairman, I'd like to make a motion that we table action plan item number 16 until the November meeting.
second,
All in favor?
Aye.
Jonathan, aye.
Danica Belknap, aye.
I made a mistake. We need to amend that motion if possible. It's action item 23 is the community cleanup day, not 16. 16 is the community cleanup education programs and promotion of stewardship. So I apologize for that. Is there a motion on the table to amend the previous motion? As
Mr.
stated?
Chairman, I would like to amend my motion that action plan item number 23 be tabled until the November meeting.
Is there a second?
Second,
All in favor?
Aye.
Jonathan, aye.
Leonard Howells and I.
Danica Belknap, aye.
Robert Gear, aye. Thank you. All right, number 11 relates to develop and map additional bicycle facilities throughout the town. Number 12 is develop trail connections throughout the town. Number 13 is develop a method of prioritization for land acquisition. Number 14 is retain productive agricultural soils and promote the practice of agriculture in Dayton. Number 22 is develop and install the uniform wayfinding signage. Number 24 is address environmental equity needs. So my idea was if we wanted to pick any one of those, if we, as a committee, my thought behind how we could run this was put a set of pros and cons together as a group, within each of those individual action items. And then I think as we do that, we would come to a mutual understanding of the group of those attributes that each action item would possess. And knowing that, we could then establish an order of items in which we could accomplish them based on, I mean, let's state the obvious, financial means, right? Budgetary constraint, things like that. So I think kind of laying it all out and figuring out what piece of the elephant we want to bite off first is probably wise, unless anybody has any other suggestions. That was just my thought. But I am open to, if somebody wants to pick that apart or do anything really with.
I think that there are a couple of things on that list there. For example, could you just read it, because I can't pull it up at the same time. Number 11 and 12, what was 11?
Yeah, absolutely. So 11, action item number 11 is to develop and map additional bicycle and SUP facilities throughout the town.
Right, so that one jumps out at me because, these are where I think we have to be realistic about what's ongoing and what's not, and who we bring into this. Because if we're going to look at this, something like that, we have to bring in partly Parks and Rec, but more than anything, we also have to bring in the police department for safety, for location, for various things. And are we talking about, places that are going to be off-road for bicycles or on-road or a combination, or locations where bicycles can be locked in town? I think these are the kinds of things, you're right, there could be some financial component to have it. We might want to consider who we would reach out to financial component. For example, would we want to reach out to Parks and Rec or another committee in town perhaps for some money for this? But again, we have to bring in folks like the police department. We need their input for these things. So I just cite that one as an example.
And probably highway department as well, if you're gonna do on road for marking, street markings.
But I like the idea of, frankly, trying to give that a higher priority, because I think it's incumbent upon us to encourage bicycle use around town. It's one of the things that a lot of people feel are missing around our town.
One of the questions that I would have, and this would involve trails. These trails are set up primarily for walking. However, how would trails feel if they were opened up for bikes, trail bikes?
I'm gonna, you know what? If Danica's willing, I'd like to hear her thought on that, because to me, that could open a can of worms. They could feel that degrades the topography. It could degrade the surfacing for water. It could degrade a lot of other things there that we may need to think about. Although I understand what you're saying.
Well, can you repeat your point, Leonard, please?
I'm sorry?
Can you repeat what you said?
I said there are currently existing trails that were set up primarily for the purpose of walking the trails. How would trails feel about opening them up for trail bikes?
Would that require the trails? Trails could accommodate.
That might require more work on the trails to accommodate the bikes, but it certainly would require signage.
Yeah,
Because it does open up a risk.
yeah. The
And
only I would have
motorized,
conflict with pedestrians and bicyclists. I think it's best if trails are separate so that they're not overlapping with each other. That can be a safety risk.
Right.
I think there's also the complexity there of whether the bicycles, when we use the term bikes, and we say off-road bikes, are we talking pedal bikes or mountain bikes with a, you know, like a mini bike? Because
Right.
then you get into noise mitigation as well. So I think that's a tough slope to go down.
I mean, I don't believe that the heart of this action item has us revising or redeveloping any of these areas. The way I see this, and develop and map additional bike and SUP facilities throughout the town.
But Mr.
I
Chairman,
mean, I'm wondering if it's just the literature itself we're talking about, not the path. The information that we're developing and the map itself of these already existing areas, not us going out and actually recreating the space itself. Is that?
Mr. Chairman, would it be worth reaching out to, I'm going to say two people. One is Parks and Rec Chair Kevin Smith Jr., and the other one is our police chief. And I say that because they may know of all of the existing sites already. And I'm not saying, and one may not know all of them. That's why I'm going to both of them.
Right,
And-
yeah. I think that's a great start. I think that would be, so we would.
Because I don't think there are any town-recognized off-road bike trails. I know there is one on from Main Street, Brook Street area. And the development's entered from the development behind Main Street off of Milk, but that is private land. I don't think there are any public. But having Kevin come before us, he may know of some that.
You know what? If it's okay, I'll reach out to both of those departments if no one has an objection, and I'll report back at our next meeting what I find, what I'm told.
So,
Yeah, let's do that.
Let's start with that. I think that's a good idea.
So we're gonna put 11 on our October agenda, please.
Yes, please. Yes.
Alright.
And I won't let you down.
I know you won't, and I know everybody gets busy. I just, I just don't want to look silly if we come in with so much enthusiasm that we let one little pin in the community pop our balloon. Number 12, develop trail connections throughout town in order to improve public safety and accessibility to town assets and facilities. Develop trail connections throughout town. That does sound like to me,
That would be a Jeff Carballo.
trails.
yes.
Yes. Interjection on that one.
No, definitely, and I think that he spoke to this in January when he last visited us, when they themselves were trying to determine how much, and I believe I learned the word that night, when the land is continuous or contiguous. So that was of importance to them at that time. So if we, for number 12, talk to Mr. Carvalho. Would we want to maybe invite him to a meeting? Would we want to have, because it looks like we've got October lining up, we've got some November discussion.
It might be a good segue for that joint meeting that he wanted to have with the Trails Committee and with the planning board as well.
I think the thing there though is
So that would be one of the items on the agenda.
I do
Two meetings.
Understood.
think there though that with trails, again, I define trails as open space. But I think the questions that I would be wanting to know are, where do we fit in? How do we define how we fit in to what they consider their trails and open space of the town? And what's our role in it? Is it to promote it? Is it maybe to help find signage? Is it maybe for grants to improve something? I think that's where we need to hear from Jeff about what he thinks our role can be too. I don't think that we're
Sure.
always in the position to find our role, but we need to hear from others. What do you want us to do? What do you need from us? Is
Right.
it something that can come in our purview? And I think that's where we have to go with this.
Well, and I think that we can also really, I mean, these statements are very heavily loaded statements that if we extrapolate some of this information and dial it down to maybe just remedial, improving public safety and accessibility, if we remove this public safety portion and left that to our police and improved accessibility, whether we're talking ADA accessibility or just the knowledge in town that these environments exist for us to enjoy, to me, is in itself would be an accomplishment within action item number 12, if that makes sense.
It does. And you're kind of touching on something which is sort of important in a lot of what we're looking at. When we take the other things that we want to consider in terms of land usage and so forth and things like that separately. But when we look at things like this, these are things, you're right, where that ADA component potentially could come into it, and potentially that could generate resource to the town through grant processes for a combination of open space parks or open space trails or a combination of all three, or others where we can really do some things under the guides of open space trails, parks, rec, and ADA. And I think we don't want to lose sight of that. There's a lot of potential there.
Absolutely. So our role could be as little or as much as, and we shall fill in the blanks in.
As we want, or they let us, both.
Right. Exactly.
I'm just wondering if we should have a meeting just with Mr. Cavallo, or should we have the joint meeting that he had suggested with Trails and Park and Rec? So we would have all the stakeholders present.
I would start with just Mr. Caballo, because not everything is the same. That's my thought. Putting a trail in the woods and having a bench at the end of it or having some signage is not necessarily something that comes under the purview of Parks and Rec. It may start at a Parks and Rec location, or it may end, or it may not. So I don't think this is all Parks and Rec.
Okay.
I think it'd be good to have that conversation maybe sooner rather than later, and not just about this like action item specifically, but more generally about our role and how we fit in with the other committees that are already doing work kind of in this area, so that we can kind of work collaboratively with them and not duplicate anything that they're already doing. Whether it's just with like the chair person of each committee or like a joint meeting. I don't know what would be the better way to go about it, but that might be, and then we could discuss, like, I think there will be multiple action items that are kind of in the same boat where we would be working with them that we could kind of address at the same time.
Yeah.
Could we ask Mr. Cavallo what would he feel more comfortable with? Either just he coming before us or a joint meeting? But I do know that they had a joint meeting before, and miscommunication, we didn't get invited, or we didn't attend, we didn't know about it.
We never got the invitation. We didn't get it.
And he did say that he didn't want that to happen. So that's why I mentioned that.
Well, how about this? I'll take it upon myself as chair of the committee to reach out to another fellow chair and see where we can get this conversation moving.
Okay.
Whether, and I'll report back next month, whether or not it's going to be, he will be joining us at some point in time, or we do establish a joint meeting.
Okay.
Now, with the joint meeting said, that would include his committee and our committee, all attendees, correct?
Right.
And a quorum would need to be made, correct, or reached?
And you post it.
Yeah, and we'd post it, okay, just like any other joint meeting, okay, all right, fantastic. All right, so then, The action at this point then is I will reach out and to make contact with the Trails Chair, Mr. Jeff Carvalho.
Danica, did you have anybody else in mind you think that should be here too, or just Jeff? Do you think it should be Kevin Smith or others as well? Because it sounded like you had a wider thought there.
Well, I think Kevin too, probably Kevin and Jeff at a minimum, but whether that's together or separate, I don't know. I mean, it might not be bad to just have all of us talk together at the same time about what everybody's doing and coordinate where we all fit in with each other. But I think there's a lot of overlap with open space, rec, trails that is probably worth addressing.
And could I even be of assistance in if I were to jump on an email thread with Kevin Smith and Jeff Carvalho, the three of us, and I just explain to them where we're at with these items in our plan? And just put it on the table, like, is there anything that stands out to you guys that you're working on now that we could assist with?
Sure.
And maybe get some broader guidance on what our priorities can be, because we can actually jump on board with what exists.
Mr. Chairman, I think that would make sense for you to reach out at first to the other chairs collectively. Otherwise, we get into everyone having to have quorums and we may never get together.
Yes, I agree. Yeah, I mean, just I think we can nip that in the bud and move to a consensus on, and then I can report back next month with what the gentlemen have, our elected officials have let us in on.
Agreed.
Thank you. So that's number 12. Number 13, develop a method of prioritization for land acquisition, including our natural green infrastructure lands that provide critical natural services.
I know this is part of what we're supposed to be doing, and I know that we should be doing it. But I'm going to suggest that we defer this to November or December. We've got a few other things that we're looking at right now, and I don't want to get bogged down. I think this is really important, but I also feel like I need to understand more information about the process involved.
Right now, we're not trying to make any like decisions or take actions. We're just kind of discussing, at least this is my understanding, priorities. I think this one is an important one for us. Like, not that we need to decide anything right now, or like, I don't think we need to defer to next time, but maybe we can at least agree that this is a priority that we should work on in the future. But I agree that it's going to take some time for us to like familiarize ourselves more and like get a better handle on like what role we would play. But
Danica, do you know if there are any reports or trainings or anything that we might be able to attend through Serpent or anything to understand, at least for me, to understand this process even more? Or anywhere else?
yeah, I mean, there are some, not trainings specifically that I know of, but definitely like resources that I could circulate like ahead of whatever meeting we were discuss this with. Like kind of guidance on like what makes certain natural areas more valuable than others in a way.
That would be excellent.
That would be really good to know for this discussion. Those things would be so important.
Yeah. Yeah, I could put some resources together. There might be like a presentation. Actually, I don't think there's a recording of it, but I could share the slides. I gave a presentation at a conference that was about like different ways to prioritize open spaces for kind of related. So that has like an overview of kind of like resources you can use to identify different values of space. So I could share some of that.
Please, that would be great.
That would be really good. All of this would be. really educational and informational. I think these are the kinds of things where the community is really gonna, they're gonna hold our feet to the fire with whatever we say or think or recommend. And it's gonna be really important, at least for me, to know what I'm talking about as much as possible. I don't, somebody's always gonna know more than me, but I wanna know as much as I can.
Same.
So, and so then, we could probably knock number 13 down on the list of priorities, kind of put that closer to number 30, if we were to categorize it. Am I understanding that, or are we gonna, how do we want to do this?
I think it depends on when Danica is able to put a packet together for us to, look at, talk about, think about, review, ask more questions, even ask her more questions about it. Can we do it?
And like when we're discussing
I would
like
just arrow it
specifically
down.
land acquisition, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Just that
Perfect.
it's more of like a long-term goal, like maybe in the meantime, we focus more on immediate things like next steps for like trails and
Yep.
and the cleanup, but like down the line when those immediate things are kind of addressed, we can move to this.
Okay.
So do we want to table that to the November meeting or just?
Yeah, I can put it on November's agenda. We could put 13.
I will make a motion to table action plan item 13 until the November meeting.
Second.
All in favor?
Leonard Hall is an aye.
Jonathan Gale, aye.
Danica Belknap, aye.
Robert Garrett, aye. Passes unanimously. Next up, we've got action item number 14. Retain productive agriculture soils and promote the practice of agriculture in Dayton. We have listed the Ag Commission and potentially DDIC as partners in this goal, in this action item.
Again, this is one of the areas where it's going to be long-term. And speaking for myself, I feel I need to know a lot more about it. I feel like I need to be armed with more information. Whether we have somebody from the agricultural school come and talk to us about our soil in the area and our erosion and our farming, and what is and what isn't. I don't even know where to begin, to be honest, but I do feel that I need to really know a lot more about it.
The Agricultural Commission has been having trouble getting quorums to have meetings. The Dayton Economic Development Commission, they want to change their name. They've been meeting quite regularly. But if we're gonna do anything with ag, you might want to reach out to Ken Alujo, but otherwise Bristol Ag might be a great educational tool for us. The whole idea of programming that would help us do our job would be excellent, whether it be from Danica or the Aggie.
We could even invite members of either the Ag Commission or students from Bristol Aggie to participate in a presentation like we've done before, where they come and speak to us about their topic and we listen. And
now, other communities have open space committees. Do they ever get together as a group? Do they ever have like workshops that discuss common problems, common goals?
There are a couple of communities that have really good, very active open space committees in the area. Westport, for example, has a very, very active open space committee, I believe. It might be interesting at some point, piggybacking on what you're kind of getting at, to ask their chair maybe to join one of our meetings and talk about what they do, what they don't do, how they go about it.
Yes. I mean, this committee is really new to open space. And all the education that we can pick up would be real beneficial. And I think not just for ourselves, but for the town as well.
Absolutely.
Mr. Chairman, I would be happy to reach out to that chair because we all have different things to do, and I'll see when they're available for our next couple of meetings and get back to you if that's okay.
Yeah, let's do that.
All right.
You wanna just table this one until we can get somebody to circle back?
I think we should.
Okay.
By the way, unfortunately, I have to say, just FYI, I have about 10 more minutes, then I have to go with my daughter to a hospital, so I may have to.
Let's see, all right, next up we've got number 22. Which is develop and install uniform wayfinding signage for all town-owned properties. And I know that, we've already discussed as a group that this is not, a hot priority.
Mr. Chairman, I spoke with Mr. Ferry, who either buys the signs or creates the signage for the town. And his budget is depleted. There was a bylaw ordinance that was passed at town meeting that is going to require, just on William Street and some of the side streets, 100 signs. So that is going to deplete his budget. He's going to put an article for the next town meeting in November, asking for more money. So money for signage is real tight.
That's a lot of signs in parking.
I would put this one way down the road. I don't feel that this is our.
Yeah, money,
This is not our wheelhouse.
Not now.
Not a priority, okay.
yeah, because of money.
Number 24, address environmental equity needs. And we've talked about land trust conservation. We've talked about Parks and Rec having a role in this, potentially, trails having a role. Conservation. Did I say trails?
Well, I think
Recreation.
what this does, it shows that getting together with trails and with parks and so forth, it shows that there are other issues and other areas where we could potentially co-join ideas and processes, things that we do. So I would put it into the same, I would begin the same conversation when you reach out to them already. That's my opinion.
And just FYI, what I'll do is when I talk to the two gentlemen, I'll make sure that it's just these items that we're not tabling for, like number 22. Obviously, I'm not gonna bring that up to them, the wayfinding signage.
No,
That, obviously I'll leave that off the table. The soil promoting, agriculture and Dayton, I'll leave that off for now. Unless they wanna bring that up. I mean, actually, I could bring that up, I guess, but I think what we really wanna talk to is definitely number 12, and move on from there.
Okay.
And number 20, let's see, what did we say, number 24? And number 24 would be another one where we would talk to them about. Number 34. Evaluate options for Muddy Cove Brook Dam, including repair, improvement, or removal. And then I think that we also talked that this might be something that is out of our control right now,
Yes.
both financially and legally.
some residents in town have reached out to me, and I plan at the next selectmen's meeting to talk about this, about the Muddy Cove and Pleasant Street Bridge Dam issue. One of their concerns and one of my concerns is that the Corps of Engineers will have to be involved in this. And very soon, the Corps of Engineers is going to have a huge project. It's called the rebuilding of the Bourne Canal Bridge, the Bourne Bridge and the Sagamore Bridges. And I have a feeling once they get involved in that, Dayton may get put on the back burner. It's especially a concern because members of the Board of Selectmen, myself included, worked really hard with Congressman Jake Auchinclosh, and we have $2.75 million sitting in an account. When is it going to get used? So we need to talk about that with the selectmen so that we don't get, we don't become a non-priority with Corps of Engineers. And we'll need Superintendent Ferry's help with that, because he's the contact person.
I think from our perspective, that was one that is down the road.
Oh, yes.
Just something to
But
be in our,
I think we need to ask some questions on that, just so that the town fathers, who are very busy now with budget issues,
Okay.
don't.
Mr. Chairman, unfortunately, I'm gonna need to end the call. I've got to go with my daughter to get an infusion. I apologize.
It's okay.
And I will, but I will,
Thank you for your time.
I'm gonna reach out to you, if not tonight, tomorrow, just to go over my line items, so I have them right.
Thank you. I look
Thank
forward to it. All right, good luck.
I'll talk to you all later. Thank you.
Thank you.
Sorry, Jonathan.
Let's see.
Hey, buddy.
Oh, yeah.
I don't want to take my medicine here.
No.
Hi, little man. What?
Oh, he loves Bill.
What, buddy?
He was just doing this like this to me. It was so cute.
I got him on mute. All right. Well, I do believe that we have worked through our new business items, unless anybody has anything else at this time. I don't believe we have any public. Anybody from the public?
Did we discuss, item number 14? Did I miss that? Or did we still go to that?
We tabled that.
Oh, wait, never mind.
Yeah, we tabled that.
16, oh, and 16, never mind, it was 16, but 16 we tabled to next meeting.
Till November, yeah.
Yes, 16 is table too.
Oh, wait, no, we didn't table 16.
Oh, community education?
Oh, that's right, because I thought 16 was 23. You're right, we need to talk about 16.
Confusing my numbers. Yeah, 16.
So then 16 would be develop community education programs and materials to promote conservation and environmental awareness.
Now, I know this committee doesn't have a budget. But to do something like this, we would need either a sponsor or we're going to need to make budget requests for the next fiscal year. So my money is going to be tight. Yes, very tight.
Some like limited out, like to me, I see like if we were to do outreach on our Facebook page or like share resources about properties and trails in town, like I don't know, maybe educational programming is more specifically like kind of active, like events and things, but I guess how we interpret that.
Right,
I think we could do some like educational outreach, like at town events, like we, and I know in previous meetings we've talked about like having a table for the open space committee at an event, or like if we have a Facebook page, that's a venue that we could do some educational outreach. That would be, I don't think we would need really a budget for that kind of stuff, but to do like specific programming, events would probably require more.
that would definitely require a budget. But I like the idea of the materials, you know, because Conservation Commission has a nice trifold flyer I've seen circulated around town. You know, these could be, I mean, even just conservation promotion flyers, if we were to piggyback any Serpent flyers and have those accessible with, I mean, like at, you know, local businesses or something like that, or a town hall, could help facilitate moving this action along.
And BP will do them for cost, so
Perfect.
that helps a lot. That's what stormwater uses.
Oh, yeah. I'll write that down.
All right.
I think maybe we can also include the other committees on that topic as well, and see what they do in terms of education and what materials they use, or or get an idea of what kind of budgets they require to facilitate any of this kind of information, whether we're talking hundreds of dollars a year or thousands of dollars a year. I mean,
That's a good idea, and
I mean,
again,
I know that's a bit dramatic, but I mean,
Wow.
a few $100s, but you know, postage or, you know, color printing is expensive these days, it really is.
and like you mentioned, the Conservation Commission has a brochure, like other committees might have resources already that we could like share events and things.
Absolutely. And there might be, there might be departments within the state, I know that there are programs within tourism where if the town itself, I'm not sure how it works with their marketing dollars, but let's say you were to use the state's resources for printing purposes or whatever, that there's some sort of rebate, whether it's a tax incentive, or you also then save on sales tax itself, because, well, I mean, in my for-profit industry, we would go through chambers of commerce, who would then go to their marketing and use their marketing dollars. And then those chambers are then incentivized through departments like Mott or travel and tourism to then have those marketing materials produced through their channels. And then it's a $1-for-$1 match back to their annual budget.
Now, the Dayton Economic Development Committee, they have a chamber representative.
Okay.
So we might be able to reach out to them for some help.
See if there's some just cost savings avenues that exist. Alrighty. All right. How does everybody feel?
Very good.
Yeah.
I mean, we did accomplish a lot.
Yeah, I think we've really gotten.
Did we set a priority? Would trails be a number one priority of this list?
Like number 12?
12?
Is that fair to say? You think so?
Yeah.
Probably.
That and the cleanup are kind of like the immediate priorities.
Okay, so number 12 and number 23.
Oh, and 23.
And then we're gonna revisit number 11 in October for any updates. that will come from my conversation with Trails and Park and Recreation.
Mhm.
We're gonna back burner for now 13 and 14.
So
Is that correct?
13 and 14 will be off.
We're gonna back burner 13, unless I have that miscorrect, so 13 and 14, because it's to develop a method of land acquisition. We thought, I believe Jonathan, along with, we were saying how that might be like a more long-term action. So, or maybe we bring these up and revisit these in December.
13, you're going to be speaking to Kevin and Jeff about the bike path, or,
So no, the bike path, I'm sorry, is number 11.
oh, okay, all right.
Bike path is 11, trail connections is 12. Now, those are immediate, so 12 is an immediate priority, we're gonna talk about 11 in October.
Yeah.
And then we're gonna back burner 13 and 14, which is the prioritization of land acquisition
Mhm.
and retaining productive agriculture soil and promote the practice of ag in Dayton until we become better educated on that. And then I believe Mr. Gale is going to talk to the committee chair and see what we can do to increase our knowledge there and report back. And then number 16, is that an immediate priority or is that something we're revisiting that?
I think number 16, that would be,
The education programs or materials to promote conservation or environmental awareness?
right, Danica had some material, so would you feel more comfortable November or December?
Well, that was for, the resources I was gonna share were for number 13 about land acquisition, which we said we would
Oh, okay,
December.
okay.
Number 16 for the educational programs. Maybe that's something that we discuss when we meet with the chairs of the other committees, like ask them what they have and what they do.
Okay.
Revisit that like after those discussions.
So put that till
So,
December?
no, we can do number 16 in October then, because I will have talked to hopefully both of them by then.
Okay,
Hopefully by the second, yeah, I'll reach out immediately. And then number 22, develop and install a uniform wayfinding. I think we're putting that on the back burner for now, correct?
yes.
Alright. We're going to revisit number 23 in November. Number 24, address environmental equity needs. Trails, Park and Rec, I believe that we can probably talk about that in October, correct? Or at least.
The trails?
Yeah, what trails exactly,
Yes.
Trails, Park and Rec.
Mhm.
So we can bring 24 into October, and then number 34, evaluate options for Muddy Cove. Is that a back burner for now?
Yes.
Alright. Alright. So then, yes, I definitely, Danica, second year, 12 and 23 are priorities.
And 24 will be in November?
24 will be, we'll talk about number 24, hopefully we can visit that in October.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, number 23 is the one we're gonna wait till November. Alright, any other comments? I think we're getting down to it. We just had a little early tonight if we like. Unfortunately, I don't believe that the attachment, I don't know if you got my email, Danica, the attachment you had sent me for the minutes for August was actually the July minutes again. So,
I emailed you the August minutes yesterday, I think.
Okay, for some reason, Blue Mail was really quirky on my laptop today and I couldn't dial in, so I actually had to go from my phone, so I apologize then. I believe we should just table this till the next meeting, since I don't have them printed, and I myself have not reviewed them for quorum.
Mr. Chairman, I'd like to make a motion to table the minutes, the approval of the minutes of August 7th to the October meeting.
Is there a second? All in favor?
Leonard Halls and I.
Danica Belknap, aye.
Robert Gears and I. All,
Mr. Chairman, I'd like to make a motion to adjourn.
is there a second?
Second?
All in favor?
Leonard Halls and I.
Danica Belknap, aye.
Robert Gears and I. Thank you, everybody.
Take care, everyone.
See you.
Good night.
Congratulations.
Congratulations.
Thanks.